I woke up from surgery and heard my sister say, "Delete her name before she opens her eyes." My name is Maya Calloway. I am 29 years old, and the first thing I heard after brain surgery was my sister's voice saying, "Delete her name before she opens her eyes." I did not move. I did not let my eyelids flicker, even though every part of my body wanted to climb out of that hospital bed and ask Vanessa what the hell she meant. Some instincts are older than fear. Mine told me to stay still. The room smelled like disinfectant, plastic tubing, and the strange metallic air that belongs to hospitals at 4 in the morning. Machines breathed beside me. Vanessa stood near my bed. I knew her perfume before I knew where I was. A man's voice answered her. "Curtis Vale, our company attorney. We have until 10, he said. The revised patent filing goes in electronically. If her name remains attached as primary inventor, the board cannot move without her approval. Then remove it. We need your father's confirmation." My father was in the room too. I waited for him to say no. I waited for him to become my father. Instead, he sighed. "Do what protects the company," he said. That was when I understood the explosion in the lab had not been the most dangerous thing that happened to me that week. The real danger was standing beside my hospital bed, whispering, because they thought I was no longer someone who mattered. My mother, Evelyn Calloway, died when I was 13. She built things quietly. She was a biomedical engineer who believed healing should not belong only to people with perfect insurance and clean family histories. She and my father founded Calloway Biologics in a rented warehouse outside Portland. At first, the company made surgical coatings for small hospitals, but my mother had a mind that could see 3 steps beyond every room she entered. When ovarian cancer took her, she left behind 2 things for me: 26% of the company and a locked archive of research notebooks. She also left Helen Park. Helen had been my mother's closest friend and the attorney who handled every important document my mother ever signed. She was sharp, calm, and impossible to impress. At 24, I joined Calloway Biologics as a materials engineer. Vanessa was already there, running investor relations with beautiful slides and empty phrases. She was my half-sister, 8 years older, born from my father's first marriage. She had always treated me like an inconvenient inheritance. For 5 years, I worked on a bioresorbable scaffold. It could also make Calloway Biologics worth more money than anyone in my family had ever seen. That was when Vanessa started asking questions. At first, they sounded casual. "Has legal filed your provisional patent yet? Who exactly is listed as inventor? If you were incapacitated, would the company own the underlying formula? Did your mother ever put weird restrictions on your shares?" I did not understand that predators often rehearse the crime in conversation before they commit it. 3 months before the accident, Helen called me. "Your sister requested copies of your intellectual property agreements," she said. "Can she do that?" "She can request anything. That does not mean she receives it." I remember smiling. "You sound annoyed." "I sound experienced." "Maya, listen carefully. Your mother placed a Level 3 independent confirmation clause on any transfer of intellectual property created by you while holding Calloway equity. No one can assign, sell, revise, or absorb your inventor rights without your signed consent and my independent certification." That seems dramatic. Your mother knew your father. The night of the explosion was a Thursday. I was alone in Lab 2, running pressure tests on the scaffold matrix. I remember the hum of the compressor. The alarm sounded once, too late. There was a flash, a sound like metal screaming, and the floor came up hard. After that, nothing for 12 days. When I woke, my family was not praying for me. They were deleting me. Curtis shuffled papers beside my bed. "The hospital declaration says she cannot participate in executive decisions for a minimum of 30 days, he said. "With your father's proxy and Vanessa's emergency board motion, the company can submit the corrected filing." Corrected. Vanessa stepped closer. I felt her shadow cross my face. "She always thought she was Mom's chosen genius," she murmured. "Let's see how brilliant she is when nobody can read her handwriting." My father said nothing. A chair scraped. Curtis lowered his voice. "There is one possible issue. Helen Park." Vanessa made a sound of disgust. "That old woman is retired." Retired does not mean irrelevant. If the Level 3 clause is triggered, she can freeze the filing, then do not trigger it. The patent office may flag the inventor removal, not if the company states the original listing was clerical. 5 years in a lab, 3 failed prototypes, 2 burned hands, 1 nearly fatal explosion, reduced to a clerical error. Instead, I let 1 tear slide into my hairline and prayed they would think it was reflex. They left at 4:18 a.m. I know because the nurse who came in afterward said the time while adjusting my IV. Her name tag said Dr. Lena Morris, though she looked young enough to be mistaken for a medical student. She checked my pupils, then paused. "Miss Calloway," she whispered, "if you can hear me, move your right thumb." I did not know whether to trust her, but distrust had already cost me enough. I moved it once. Her face changed, not with surprise, but with decision. "Do not try to speak. You were extubated yesterday. Your throat needs time. Are you in danger?" I moved my thumb again. She glanced at the door. "From the people who just left?" Again. She inhaled through her nose, slow and controlled. I suspected something. "Your sister asked me whether cognitive delays could be documented before morning. She said it would help the family make urgent decisions. I told her medicine does not exist for corporate convenience." That was the first time I almost smiled. She drew the alphabet in rows. "I will point. You blink when I hit the letter." It took 9 exhausting minutes to spell Helen Park. Dr. Morris did not ask why. Strong people do not waste time demanding pain explain itself before they help. She simply took out her phone. Helen arrived at 5:37 a.m., her expression sharp enough to cut glass. She looked at me for exactly 2 seconds before leaning close. "Your mother was right to worry," she said. I blinked once. "Yes." She opened a leather folder on my bedside table. "Vanessa filed an emergency board motion at midnight," Helen said. "Your father signed a temporary incapacity affidavit. Curtis Vale prepared a revised patent submission removing you as primary inventor and assigning all derivative rights to Callaway Biologics." My heart pounded so hard the monitor betrayed me. Dr. Morris silenced the alarm. Helen placed her hand near mine. Not touching, just close enough to give me something to look at. "They are moving fast because they know the scaffold test succeeded." I blinked twice, confused. Helen's eyes narrowed. "You did not know?" She pulled a page from the folder. The final data backup from Lab 2 had uploaded 12 minutes before the explosion. The scaffold had performed beyond projected limits: tensile strength, degradation rate, nerve conductivity, all of it. The thing I had built worked. I started crying then. Not loudly. I did not have the strength. Tears slid into my ears while Helen read the results my own family had tried to bury with me. Then her voice changed. "Maya, we have 4 hours. I can file an injunction with the federal court and notify the patent office, but I need evidence that you are conscious and capable of communication." Dr. Morris stepped forward. "I can document that. You understand the family may pressure the hospital." "I understand many things." Helen nodded once. "Good. Second, we need to preserve the lab access logs," Dr. Morris said. "I cannot do that." I blinked at the alphabet until Helen understood. Noah. Noah Reed was my junior engineer, the only person in the lab who cared more about clean data than office politics. He owed me nothing. That made him safer than family. Helen called him at 6:02. By 6:19, Noah had copied the access logs, environmental readings, and security footage from the night of the explosion. At 6:31, he called back breathing like he had run a mile. "Vanessa was in Lab 2, Helen repeated for me. At 9:14 p.m., my monitor spiked again. "Did she touch the pressure unit?" Helen listened. Then she looked at me. She disabled the secondary pressure sensor. The room became very quiet. Vanessa had not meant to kill me. That was what I realized first, and it made everything worse. She had wanted the test to fail. She had wanted my research discredited, my judgment questioned, my authority weakened before the board vote. But small sabotage in a lab is not small. Machines do not care about intention. Physics does not soften itself because someone only meant to ruin you professionally. At 7:08 a.m., Helen filed the emergency injunction. At 7:22, Dr. Morris entered a formal neurological assessment into my chart, stating that I was awake, oriented through assisted communication, and capable of making decisions. At 7:41, the Patent Office received notice of disputed inventorship and Level 3 independent confirmation. At 8:03, Noah sent the lab footage to Helen and to an external forensic engineer. At 8:46, my father returned. He came alone this time, carrying coffee, wearing the face of a tired parent. It might have worked on me 12 days earlier. "Maya, he said softly. If you can hear me, sweetheart, we are taking care of everything. I kept my eyes closed. He sat beside me and touched my hand. My skin crawled. The company is unstable right now, he continued. Vanessa is trying to protect what your mother and I built. Some documents may need to be adjusted until you recover. It is just temporary. Temporary is a word cowards use when they want theft to sound administrative. He leaned closer. I know you would want us to do what is best. That was when I opened my eyes. My father's hand froze around mine. The color left his face so quickly I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I could not speak above a rasp, but I forced the words out anyway. Best for who? He stood so fast the chair hit the wall. Maya, you are awake. No, I whispered. I was listening. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. He looked suddenly old, not because he was ashamed, but because he had been caught before preparing his next costume. I did not know about the sensor, he said. I did not know they were stealing from you. I am sorry. The sensor. I stared at him until he looked away. Dr. Morris entered then, and behind her came Helen. My father saw the folder in Helen's hands and understood that the room no longer belonged to him. You had no right to contact her, he snapped. Helen smiled without warmth. Evelyn gave me every right. At 9:58, Vanessa arrived with Curtis. She wore a cream suit and red lipstick, dressed for victory. Some people do that. They put on expensive clothes to commit ugly acts, as if silk can launder rot. She stopped when she saw my eyes open. For one beautiful second, nobody spoke. Then I did. Good morning, Vanessa. Her lips parted. I swallowed through the pain. Do not delete my name. Curtis went pale first. Lawyers understand consequences faster than narcissists. Vanessa recovered with impressive speed. Maya, thank God. We were so worried. No, I whispered. You were rushed. Helen stepped forward. The revised patent filing has been frozen. Any attempt to submit altered inventorship will be treated as evidence of fraud. The court has received our injunction. The hospital has documented Maya's capacity. Also, I have Lab 2 footage. Vanessa looked at my father. That look told me everything. Not fear for me, not remorse. Calculation. Which lie should come first? Which person should be sacrificed? Which exit was closest? Curtis raised both hands slightly. I acted on information provided by company leadership. Coward. Vanessa turned on him. You said the filing was legal. It is legal to correct clerical errors. It is not legal to fabricate them. My father sank into the chair. I watched the three of them begin the ancient ritual of guilty people, moving away from one another. The hearing happened 2 days later from my hospital room. I attended by video, my head wrapped, my voice barely functional, but my mind clear. Vanessa had argued I was confused, medicated, manipulated by Helen. Dr. Morris destroyed that argument in under 4 minutes. Miss Calloway communicated consistently, logically, and with full awareness of the circumstances, she testified. Her distress was appropriate to the situation. Her cognition was not impaired. The judge reviewed the documents. My mother's clause, the original research notebooks, the time-stamped data upload, the emergency board motion, the incapacity affidavit, the revised patent draft, the access log showing Vanessa entering Lab 2, the footage of her opening the service panel on the pressure unit. Vanessa's attorney tried to say she had entered the lab out of concern for safety. The forensic engineer explained that she had bypassed a sensor, not repaired one. My father tried to say he signed the affidavit under emotional strain. The judge asked whether emotional strain usually caused people to transfer millions in intellectual property away from their unconscious daughters. He stopped talking after that. By the end of the hearing, the court froze all patent activity, suspended Callaway Biologics from making any changes to my ownership rights, removed my father from temporary authority over my shares, and referred the lab incident for criminal investigation. Vanessa did not look at me when the judge finished. That was fine. I had seen enough of her. Recovery was slower than revenge. People love the clean ending, the moment where the villain falls and the hero walks away shining. Real life is uglier. I threw up from medication. I forgot words. I woke screaming from dreams of blue monitor light and metal tearing open. My right hand shook for 6 weeks. Sometimes I looked at my research notes and cried because the numbers made sense before my own family did. But I healed. Noah visited every Tuesday with lab updates and terrible vending machine snacks. Dr. Morris checked on me even after I was moved out of intensive care. Helen brought documents, soup, and the kind of silence that does not demand performance. 3 months later, Vanessa was arrested for evidence tampering, attempted corporate fraud, and reckless endangerment. The prosecutor did not charge attempted murder. Helen warned me that would happen. Law needs proof, not moral certainty. I learned not every truth gets the name it deserves in court. Curtis Vale lost his position and later his license. He claimed he had been misled. Perhaps he had. But a lawyer who helps predators sharpen knives should not complain when he gets cut. My father avoided prison. That hurt more than I expected. He settled civilly, surrendered his voting rights, resigned from the board, and agreed to repay the legal costs caused by his affidavit. The last time I saw him, he came to my apartment with a letter. "I made mistakes," he said. I looked at the envelope in his hand. "That is a management word," I told him, "not an apology." His eyes filled with tears. Years earlier, that would have broken me. I would have softened. I would have told myself grief made people weak, money made people strange, families deserved second chances. But nearly dying cured me of sentimental stupidity. Some betrayals are not storms. They are blueprints. They are planned, revised, signed, and submitted before morning. I did not take the letter. 6 months after the explosion, I left Callaway Biologics. Not quietly. The board tried to negotiate. Investors panicked. Vanessa's removal had already damaged them, and my departure turned panic into blood in the water. I took my patent rights, my research archive, Noah, and 3 engineers who had more courage than salary. We started Evelyn Labs in a small building with bad heating and excellent locks. On opening day, Helen handed me a sealed envelope. "Your mother asked me to give you this only if the company ever tried to take your work." Inside was a handwritten note. "My brilliant Maya, if you are reading this, someone has mistaken your kindness for weakness. Do not waste time proving your heart to people who studied where to cut it. Protect the work. Protect yourself. Build where they cannot reach you. Love. Mom." I sat on the floor of my unfinished office and cried like a child. Not because I was broken, but because for the first time since waking up, I felt guarded by someone who had loved me correctly. Evelyn Labs submitted the scaffold patent under my name 1 month later. 2 years after that, the first clinical trial began. Sometimes reporters ask whether I started my company for revenge. I tell them no. Revenge was making sure they failed to erase me. Building something they could never touch again was freedom. And if you ever wake up one day and hear the people closest to you discussing your life like paperwork, listen carefully. Do not scream too soon. Do not show your hand to people still holding knives. Stay still. Remember names. Find the person your enemy forgot existed. Then open your eyes when the trap is already closed.